got this miniature here that's pretty much almost finished. It's the Lord Executioner. It's a dead guy, I guess, who likes to execute things, gets things done, and he's got these ghosts happening here. I'm thinking they should probably be sort of white, just as in a contrast to the rest, which has ended up pretty dark. This miniature is so flimsy. It's been not difficult to paint, but you can see while I'm holding it, I'm trying to hold it still. And it's got the shakes. It's like, I'm so excited, I want to go execute stuff. Anyway. Now these are pretty much supposed to be white. They've been, the entire miniature was Nighthaunt Prime to start with. It's everything in the past, maybe not everything in the future, but you know. And I want them to have some kind of color texture, but not too much. So I want to use a wash. That's pretty much it. I want to wash them. But I think whatever wash I'll put on there will be too thick. They'll just be like, you know, down here, just too much color. And I have experimented with this just a little bit, not very much, so this will be more of a test using the contrast medium to thin down a wash. And that's what I want to try here, to like get something really thin, so that I get some color in there, probably a blue or a green or both, just so that something's happening in there, but not too much. So in this video, I'm pretty much just going to see if I can, more properly than I've done before, use this contrast medium from the new contrast range, without any contrast colors, and using shades just to sort of water them down. And I've smudged some, you can see some smudges here and there, paint from, you're gonna have to excuse this shaking. It's not my fault, it's the shaky let's execute stuff ghost here. Anyway, dots here and there, splashes from when I painted the rest. So first off, I'm gonna just clean that up and also brighten some of the highlights. I'm gonna dry brush this white. But we start with this contrast medium. I'm gonna dollop a fair amount of this, just so that I've got some. Not really counting, I'm just going for it. And then Cohelia green shade, which was what the rest of, pretty much the wash, which is on the rest of the Executioner. And I also want some Beal Tan green. So I'm just gonna grab a little bit of this blue, mix it in with the contrast medium and a little bit of the green. I've tried, but never done it this diluted. So let's see where we end up. And I just want to make sure I get this pretty much everywhere. Miniature is wobbling around, which is what you can expect from an executioner. He's got shaky, it's his nerves, you know. Chopping all those heads off has finally got to him. Post-traumatic execution stress. So you can see it on there, it's subtle, it's also, you know, pretty diluted, so it's more of a mint. But it's nice to know that you can get a really thinned out shade. I mean, it's sticking in all the places or a shade wood, just really thin. Not to confuse you, but while I waited for the wash to dry, I also kept on painting more on the rest of the miniature, just because I'm just going to sit around here, watch paint dry. But back to these ghosts, I want a little bit more than that. So we'll go back to the medium here, and I'm just going to add a bit more in there this time. I'm not being very mathematical here, but this should be more. Let's see. I think that definitely has a lot more pigment in it. It feels like it anyway. So I don't think I'm going to dollop on as much as before. Now the ghosts are looking pretty good, and I must say that, you know, I haven't tried. I know there's other mediums. They might work as well. I was just kind of curious on the contrast medium, and I figured I might as well buy that because I might want to try the contrast paints. So why not just go with one instead of buying two? Anyway, I like how the ghosts turned out. They're pretty much dry. And I figured while we're at it, because I've been painting the rest of the miniature while I'm waiting for stuff to dry, I want to try and do this smoke down here, whatever it is. It's like ghostly sword kind of a thing. I've basically just given it some more white to pretty much try the same thing as we did on the ghosts, but instead using Carlsberg Crimson, and maybe mix in some Reichland Flesh Shade. I'm thinking kind of, yeah, red, blood red. If this is someone who likes to float around executing stuff, then maybe it should be red, smoke, blood related. Yeah. So first I'll just add some of this Carlsberg Crimson and mix in a bit of the Flesh Shade. Get the medium in there and give it a mix. Okay, so let's see how this works. I'll just dollop this on. Is it looking like what I wanted it to look like? Not really, but we're here to experiment, aren't we? But here we are. And I tried doing the same thing as on the ghosts, as you saw, and I didn't really like that. So what I've done in my wet palette is I've mixed some contrast medium with some Carlsberg Crimson, a little bit of dark red. This says dark vermilion. It's not dark red, it's really a bright red, and a bit of dark red. Oh, it's doing a lot. Looks like blood, doesn't it? Undiluted Carlsberg Crimson, just for the blade. I kind of like this, but it's a bit too entraily. So the last thing I'm going to do is I've mixed some Carlsberg Crimson with contrast medium to dilute it. Hopefully this will just give it a bit of a violet tone that might make it look a little bit more like magic and a little bit less like someone's guts. But if not, we'll just have to stick with the guts. Alright, so this is all dry, pretty much. And my goal was to see what or how the contrast medium works to dilute washes to something thinner that works better on sort of white things like these ghosts. And I've tried it before, but this was the first time I sort of kind of concentrated, and I really liked it. It turned out great for these ghosts. And then I went overboard and did these trailing guts on the axe, and yeah, I'll just have to. It'll just be this way. But now you've seen how the contrast medium can work as a wash diluter, if you were interested in that. And that's about it. I'm going to finish this off and take some pictures for you, so you can have a look at what it looks like in more detail, and when it's not wobbling around because it's so eager to get off and execute things. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe if you want to. It's totally up to you. Bye.